talking about structured versus unstructured content, right? So documentations are a typical structured content. What are your particular preferences in which particular direction for a structured versus unstructured content?
As far as like how often we publish structured versus unstructured, or?
Right, generally, like what resonates better with the extended community that we have? Because structured content is something once people start, they need to look into it till the end to understand it all, right?
Right.
But unstructured has a different purpose. So what do you prefer at a particular time?
I think you need to go to your audience to figure out what they're looking for and what would be most helpful to them. And I say that specifically because there are different people who are going to need different things. And I think depending on how mature your product is and what stage your resources are at is going to determine what your community actually needs. I have a good example of this, actually. One of my developer advocates tweeted this morning about, hey, here's a collection of modeler plugins. These are all of the ones that I've played around with that I really like, that are really great and useful. I've been asked for this for years. Here's this gist that shows, here's all of the ones that I prefer, which is great. And we have had people asking for that. So I'm glad that he published that. But we have other people who are also asking for, the documentation to be more searchable. And so people are looking for different things at different times, depending on what stage they're in developing with your product. A very new person to our product is not going to be looking for additional plugins for the modeler. They're going to be wanting the documentation to be more navigable. And so having a better understanding of, what do you need? What are you looking for? What would be helpful is great. And having those either surveys or those one-on-one conversations with your community to say, what's the biggest blocker for you right now? To me is one of the most valuable conversations you can have. And that's a conversation that you should be having probably every 6 months, if not more often, that, hey, what are people looking for? What can I do? How can I help?
Right, definitely. It makes sense. And just thinking about it, like most people are not into direct surveys, right? So how do you actually get that particular feedback from everyone?
So I think there's a couple ways. One is a generic survey that you could put out on your forums, put out online, hey, calling all people who use our products, right? You can sometimes offer compensation. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. But the thing that I found to be more successful, especially if you're looking from the developer experience side, making sure that people have a good experience with your software from the start, is contacting new users, new community members as they're first getting started. So the first time someone posts on your forum, reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to get to know you more. How can we help? What can we do? Would you be willing to hop on a quick 15-minute phone call, right? And setting up that regular cadence of conversations with new community members can be an extremely valuable way to get to know new people. And you can have, 3 standard questions, right? How's your experience been? What are you stuck on? What would be most helpful for you going forward?
Right.
And then going back and reviewing those answers. And instead of making decisions, major strategic decisions based on one conversation, have a handful of those conversations over a quarter and then look back and go, okay, 5 people said something along the lines of documentation. 18 people said something along the lines of they need more examples or more code to get them up and running, more tutorials. And so being able to figure out what are the patterns there can then help you really decide, where's my time best spent? What should I stay focused on this coming quarter?
Right, definitely.